I want to get straight into it. I mean, you and I have discussed this many, many times. This is all against the backdrop of a meeting. We had El-Sisi in Baghdad. We also had a meeting there with the King of Jordan, and also against the back of this very, very rapid withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan, and a lot of questions about whether or not only is that a good idea to do it in such rapid succession, but whether or not that's going to galvanize the Taliban to take back the country as quickly as possible. How do you see this playing out?
Thanks, Hadley. As you said, so much going on in the region. On the one hand, America's adversaries in the region do feel emboldened by President Biden's very open push to get out of Afghanistan, to disengage militarily. So, of course, they're testing. They're wanting to see how much they can push the Americans. The strikes that we saw overnight that the U.S. took out was against Iraqi militias affiliated with Iran, with some bases and storage depots in Syria. And that entire area between Syria, Iraq, and Iran at the moment is home to militias that want to not only challenge the US, but more importantly, challenge the sovereignty of the countries of the region, namely Iraq. So the Afghanistan developments are very important because people want to see how much appetite the Americans have for engaging militarily where they need to. These strikes, these particular strikes, came after drone attacks in the vicinity of the new US consulate in Erbil in the Kurdistan region of Iraq. Now, the Kurdistan region of Iraq, until very recently, didn't used to have these sorts of drone strikes or attacks from militias. They're feeling emboldened, and they want to show that throughout the stretch of Iraq, that they can actually have an impact. What's also interesting is only 3 days ago, Iraq witnessed a huge military parade by the Popular Mobilization Units, known as Al-Hashd al-Sha'bi, which is this umbrella for all the militias in Iraq, many of whom are affiliated with Iran. And you had the Iraqi prime minister, who's the commander-in-chief, overseeing this parade. So the madness of what's going on in Iraq is that you have a commander-in-chief that oversees nominally only the militias, who is affiliated and very strongly allied to the United States, with militias that are working between Iraq and Syria without any remit from the government, so to speak. And you have the Americans striking them, while at the same time, the Americans are trying to bolster up the Iraqi army and the regular armed forces. And so none of these things help Iraq's sovereignty, and none of these things are helping to plan long-term for the stability of Iraq and the region. And that's why it's concerning. You hear about these drone strikes that the Americans take out, and they're good as a tactic, but they don't really show you what's the long-term strategy. How are you going to limit the activities of these militias and the long arm of Iran that stretches to several Arab countries now?